Welcome in once again, everyone. Another video podcast here with the Cornhole Insider. We are a few days late getting this one out, but better late than never. We got an awesome guest for you in just a second here. Joel Karnick here and Al Desert Storm Baghdadi up there in the
Hello.
upper left side of the screen. And before we get in, I want to encourage people to hit that subscribe button down there. It helps us out a lot. Now, coming up in April, we're looking at April 1st, but it might be like the 15th. We're going to give away that set of Scoreholio bags and Scoreholio hat that our Scoreholio buddy gave us as a prize last week. So be sure to hit subscribe and comment. Everybody who comments will have a chance to win free bags and free Scoreholio hats. So that's pretty cool. And we're going to talk about our Restore You Classic, which has $1,000 added money coming in June. But as you can see, we've got Jeff McCarragher with us, who's become the really, him and Trey Rodder, you're the voices of Cornhole now, I think. Jeff, did you ever think that title would be something that you would have with all the sports you've done over the years?
No, not in a million years. But I'm happy to have it. Good to be known for something. But yeah, when I first got the call about doing cornhole, I was absolutely on board and thought it was sounded like a great idea. And as soon as I hung up the phone, my wife said to me, she said, "Did I just hear something about cornhole?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "We're gonna give it a shot. Here we go." And that was 2 years ago at the start of COVID, or maybe just a little bit before it, and it's taken off. It's been so much fun, and Trey's fantastic to work with, and obviously was I mean the best to learn from. And we've had a great ride. It's been fun.
Yeah. So when they asked you to do Cornhole, what was your knowledge base of the game at that point, that first contact with you? What was your knowledge of the game?
Pretty much the same as most of the players that I talked to. I mean, I played it at tailgates. I'm from Iowa, and grew up going to football games with my dad on Saturdays in Iowa City. So we're big Iowa Hawkeye fans, and so yes, I mean, we played at tailgates. We played at neighborhood parties. We played on vacations. But as far as the pro game goes, I knew nothing about the world of cornhole. Matter of fact, the first broadcast I ever did was for the national collegiate, the college championships in Myrtle
Right.
Beach. And I walked into that facility, Joel, and I was absolutely blown away. I couldn't believe the number of boards. I couldn't believe the number of bags being thrown. I couldn't believe the sights, the sounds, the number of people. I was totally blown away by this whole underworld of cornhole that existed that I'd never heard of. It took it to a whole different level. It was really cool to see. So, I mean, my knowledge was very basic, but it quickly grew at that first event in Myrtle Beach.
And Al, you and I have talked a lot about how much that adds to whether it's a video stream online or the TV. Al, how much that adds to have good guys like that doing the games, right?
Yes, good commentary is sometimes lacking in the sport. I mean, people put a live feed out there, they have no commentary, or they just say something once in a while, to get a good knowledge of the game. I think that you guys bring to the broadcast. I think it really enhances everything.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think it's a good mix because Trey is so knowledgeable of the sport. But yet on my side, I've been broadcasting for so long, and I think it's good because, believe it or not, I can kind of represent kind of that everyman, right? Because we always have to remember in the sport of cornhole that the way that this sport is growing, there's always new people who are tuning in. There's always new people who are listening, watching, and they, a lot of them don't even get the simple basics of cancellation scoring. They don't understand, that we played a 21. They don't understand that the boards are 27 feet apart. They don't even know that, what the bags are made of or anything. So these simple things we can't forget, that we still have to, still let the new people kind of clue them in on what's going on with the sport. And I think that's why Trey and I kind of balance each other out, because I can kind of be that guy to kind of bring everybody back in, and then Trey can just riff and just go off on all the the technical stuff with the sport. So hopefully it's a good mix. I don't know.
It is. And I was kind of thinking yesterday, I was thinking to myself how to compare it to a type of sport. I've been in radio for 36 years, and I've done every sport from wrestling, cross country I've done. But, you got basketball and football that have typically a lot of action. Football is a little slower. But I kind of compare it, I guess, a little bit maybe to baseball in that people, when you're doing baseball on TV and a visual, people can kind of see what's going on. There's very little description of what's happening. There's a lot of talk in between. And that's kind of what cornhole is. You can only say so much. Oh, Matt Guy put that one in again. He put it in again. He put it in again. It's that in between stuff and that camaraderie that really makes it work, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're spot on. Really, I think the two things that cornhole kind of emulates broadcast wise is baseball and probably golf. There's a little bit of both, but then there's also a little bit of basketball in there because we have big shots, right?
Yeah.
Just like a buzzer beater, a 3-pointer to win. I mean, you get a lot of that. So I mean, it really kind of brings in a lot of the different sports that I broadcast. But it's so exciting. People ask me all the time, "What's your favorite sport to broadcast?" And it really kind of depends on the season. Football is the most difficult, hands down. You got 22 guys on the field, and as soon as there's a turnover, it flips, and you got 22 new guys on the field. So you got to know a lot, and there's a lot of production elements, there's a lot of conference calls during the week. Football is a real beast. Baseball, as you were saying, is a totally different challenge because you have to fill all that time. And I feel like cornhole is really like kind of a happy medium for a lot of that. I mean, it really has become one of my favorite sports to broadcast.
Yeah, and the catchphrase, I mean, Trey Ryder, I mean, Al Baghdadi, we love it, don't we? Oh my gosh. And when he says that, Al, something special happened, right?
Yeah, and especially for us hardcore cornhole fans, that it's going to be a great shot, or it has been a great shot. Which there's always got to be that balance there between the people that don't know what cornhole is and those of last weekend I'm sitting with 4 screens going so I can keep track of all the brackets. So
Yes, I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, along those same lines, Al. Like my favorite thing is when Trey gets excited. He's like, "Oh my goodness, Jeff McCarragher!" He just really like gets into it, and he does such a great job. It's been such a pleasure.
And
Seeing
a
him.
lot of the weeks, like this past week, you're actually there doing some of the live stream stuff. You were there for quite a bit of the tournament this past weekend in Atlantic City, weren't you, Joe?
Yeah, that's something new that we're doing this year because our contracts kind of got changed a little bit during the off season, which was great. So we're doing our own podcast now. We're still doing all the broadcasts, and I'm doing more of the live stream, which is awesome for me because I get a chance to see a lot more players, and so I'm seeing a lot of people for the first time. And yeah, it's been great to be a part of that, and of course, the more I watch, the more I broadcast it, the more it helps out with my depth of knowledge of the players and with the game. And I've really enjoyed. We've only had 2 events where it's been like this in Las Vegas, and then last week in Atlantic City. But being able to do that and just meet more players and watch more has really been a pleasure for me.
So I'm thinking, Jeff, I mean, we got Bob Costas. He's on his way out. In fact, I think it's his birthday today. He's like 73. Got Al Michaels. He's on his way out. So I think in Jeff McCarragher, I think we got the next wave here. You're still a pretty young guy, comparatively, I guess. And you're doing a lot of stuff. You run ESPN Plus. You do a lot of other sports, and it's got to be exciting for you, Jeff, to have this opportunity.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's being a sports broadcaster is really no different than being like an actor. I mean, you take as many roles as you possibly can. You hope for that big break, right? And but I'm really happy with what I've got. The broadcasting industry has been through. I mean, really, it's been kind of turned on its head in the last 7 or 8 years, and everything has gone to a lot of regional broadcasting. So you kind of get slotted by schools that you may be close to. So I'm fortunate that I live literally an hour and a half from Coastal Carolina University, and they're a part of the Sun Belt, and the Sun Belt has a deal with ESPN. And so all their games are on the ESPN platform. So I do most of the Coastal Carolina home football games and home basketball games. I just had a game last night, a basketball game, because they're in a small postseason basketball tournament. So I do a lot of those, and yeah, and then do some one-offs, with other sports as well. Did the Big South Conference tournament. So you keep doing all that stuff, and you hope that you hope that one of the days, one of these days, a big network calls you. But in the meantime, I mean, I am so happy and so thankful for what I have, and I love doing college football and basketball, and the cornhole to be on ESPN, to be on CBS. To be honest with you, as much football and basketball as I've done, there is nothing that I have done that has been on a bigger national stage than some of these cornhole tournaments that we've been doing. I mean, it's really taken off, as you guys well know.
It's a dedicated audience. There's no doubt about it. Are you finding yourself, you have the itch now when if you have a little time off, you got a set of boards, are you throwing a little bit, maybe thinking that you could do this?
Yeah, I do. The problem is that well, no, I mean, no, there's no way I can do it at their level. But yeah, I try to play a little bit. Frank Modlin was the first one to kind of show me, take me under his wing and show me about the different, bags. I didn't even know that bags, had a slick side and a sticky side until I started doing this now 2.5 years ago. So he sent me some game changers. So those are the first ones I had. Then I tried some Reynolds. Jason McCannon has sent me some fire cornhole bags. I love the fire bags. So I've tried a bunch of different ones, and it's fun because even doing that helps me learn about the game, just learning and feeling different bags. And Trey's working with me on my skills, so I'm starting to get that spin and that flat bag. So I can play a little bit, but I'm so busy. Basketball keeps me so busy, especially this time of year with crossover between cornhole and basketball. I just don't have the time to practice, and that's something I've noticed. With these pros, the ones who are at that elite level are the ones who are just flat out, just crazy dedicated to it, right? Who either play in tournaments all the time or who practice 4, 5, 6 days a week, 3 hours a night. And I just don't have that much time right now.
Yeah, and you see a lot of the younger generation into it, 17, 18, 19, college age. And you see a lot of older guys. There are some middle-aged guys in there, but life takes over with kids and all that stuff. And the time to practice, my son is a good example. He's throwing really well right now, and he practices almost every day at college, whereas most people don't have that chance. So I think that's why you're seeing, Jeff, a lot of those younger kids as young as 15 or 16, they're beating the 40, 50-year-old guys who've been playing a long time. They got a little bit less on their schedule maybe, and they had time to practice, and good for them, right?
Oh, absolutely, man. How about Alex Hicks? Alex
Oh
is
my
only, well, actually, I think Alex just turned 13 this weekend while we were in Atlantic City. But yeah, so he's been 12, since the start of this 2022 season, and he's been killing it. Of course, beat Matt Guy. But you're right. It's interesting with these younger kids, from 12 to 16. You're right. I mean, as you guys know, you don't have to worry about anything when you're that age. Your meals are given to you. You don't have to worry about money. You don't have to worry about pets. You don't have to worry about kids and marriage and jobs and all that kind of stuff. So all they can focus on playing cornhole. So it'll be interesting to see, how especially like an Alex Hicks. I can't wait to see his journey and see what it's like for him as he gets into middle school, gets into high school,
Yeah.
Starts to grow, and go all through these changes mentally and physically. It'll be interesting to see how his game evolves. But yeah, it's a lot easier when you don't have to worry about where your next paycheck is coming from to just get out there and practice some cornhole.
Well, Al and I have been playing cornhole, I don't know, 3, 4 years or so, maybe a little more serious the last couple of years. And we picked up on a lot of catchphrases, a lot of things that we use. So I thought this would be a good chance, Jeff, for us to share this with you. Maybe some point in your broadcast, you'll shoot back to this quality video cast you did with Joel and Al on the Cornhole Insider. So we got a few things I'm going to share here with you, and then we'll save the best for the last. But here we can see on the screen here now, we've got different terms that we use and different things, I guess, that kind of qualify. Now, you guys, we talk about comebacks in cornhole a lot. Now, to us, overcoming a double-digit deficit would be an official comeback, I guess. Would you agree with that, maybe?
I like that. Yeah, I like defining that. That's a good one.
Yeah. Pick me up. We see a lot of players, we make fun of this a lot, where a lot of guys will pat their chest and they'll be saying, pick me up, my bad. We think that only when you give up 5 or more points does that qualify to say pick me up or my bad, because 4, that happens sometimes. 5 or more, I think you got to look at your opponent and say, I stunk, pick me up, my bad. Does that sound fair?
I think that's good because I've heard Trey talk about that a lot. I mean, he agrees. He would agree with you 100% because he says 4-point rounds, it happens. But when you get to 5 or 6-point rounds, that's definitely more rare. And yeah, definitely you're going to need your partner to help you out. I like that one.
Yeah. All right. Now we go. We hear that a lot. Now we go. We think only after you're trailing by 10 or more points, do you really need that incentive. This is flexible a little bit, but you hear that a lot. Guys will say, now we go. So we're thinking maybe you got to be down a little bit. That's flexible though. So we've got numbers, Jeff, for things that we call when you give up points during the round. So the 4, I call that the golfer. All right, you gave up the golfer. 4 as in 4 golf. You got that? All
I
right.
like it. Yep. I
So
like it.
5 points, obviously, you got the big nickel, the big nickel giving up 5.
Yes.
The
I
big
like that.
60, 6 points. A little bit, maybe you do that during ratings period. Give that
How about
mention
not so sexy?
instead of the big sexy, the big
Yeah.
60. Yeah, when you're
If you
giving up
give up
6 or more.
6, yeah, not so sexy.
7, the extra point is good.
Yeah.
You give up a 7. So there you go. The extra point is good. 7. Snowman's an obvious one from golf. That's
Golf, yep.
obvious. Now we get into some that are custom to us here in the Northwoods. The German, we call it the 9. 9. The German. Someone gives up 9 points in our league. You'll hear someone at the top of their voice just yell 9. So
Yeah, wow. You don't want to give up many of those, that's for sure.
you don't see that on your broadcast too much. There's not too many 9s, is there?
No, rarely. Actually, I saw one this weekend. Well, actually, I didn't see it, but I heard about it. Yep.
Yeah. So we got the tenor. The 10 is a tenor. Snake Eyes 11, and the dreaded floor bagger. We don't see that too many, but the floor bagger is 12. Now
That's
these,
my favorite.
yeah, no, the last 3 are 3 that my son actually came up with these. So when you're in the midst of a game, defining exactly where you are in the game, we figured that if both teams are in that 10 to 14 point range, that it's officially a barn burner. That this is a tight one. It's a barn burner. 15 to 18, it's a nail biter. But if you get to that where both teams are at 19 or 20 points, we call it a crap your pants game.
Yeah. It's amazing how much stress there is, right? When it gets down to that. And it was funny, every time we have one of these Super Hole events, one of these celebrity pro-ams, that's one of the first things that they talk about is the pressure that they feel once it gets down to it, right? Once it gets either to the end of the rounds or once it gets to between 17 and 21 points, they're like, oh my God, the pressure is amazing.
Yeah, especially at that level, Al, we've all been there playing. You get it 17, 18, you just don't want to be that guy that throws the first 2 bags off the board.
Yeah, we've all been there. I don't think we know the pressure that the professionals feel having to play as well as they have to play for 8 or 9 games in one day to get to that broadcast. They really have to play at a high level to make it that far.
Yeah, it really is amazing, and that's where I draw the parallel with golf, right? Because there's so many good players, and you have to beat so many good players to beat there. To be there, and it's amazing. I mean, just to be able to get through that gauntlet when they are. I mean, when I'm just sitting there at these nationals and just watching them qualify. I mean, you're right. I mean, it's really a mental struggle for a lot of these players. Because you just cannot have. I mean, you basically can have one gimme, but that's about it. I mean, you have to be darn near perfect all day, and it's a ton of pressure.
And the physical breakdown sometimes over the weekend too, I find that going to big tournaments is that I'll play in the senior division right away and throw pretty well. And as the weekend goes on, my legs kind of get sore. I try to take a nap in the corner. That people don't realize it's a lot of time on your feet, no matter which organization you're playing for. And when you get to those championship games, Saturday night, Sunday night, it's tiring no matter what age you are.
Yeah, I mean, to have to repeat that same motion over and over and over is taxing, and it is taxing physically. But I think it's equally taxing mentally. Just have to stay on and stay focused for hours. I mean, literally hours. And then sometimes they sit for a long time before they actually play on TV for a championship at night. It's really the mental focus that it takes is I think you're right. I don't think there's a lot of people outside of the game who realize that.
And we're seeing, like you said, with Alex Hicks, 12, 13, maybe one of the top 5 players in the world right now. And guys that are in their 50s, 60s. You've got Damon Dennis, and Matt Guy in his 50s, and you got Cheyenne Renner who won a title. And now you're seeing some players. I was just watching a video the other day of a gentleman who was amputated at the legs, and he was throwing four baggers. No matter what you got going on, it doesn't really matter. It's not like basketball where you can, you have to have a little gift of running, jumping, and dunking and that stuff, and you really don't have to have that much strength with the weight of the bag. That's what makes it fun, is that you can have a 12-year-old beating a 55-year-old for thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, the ACL really could not have come up with a better slogan than anyone can play and anyone can win. And you're right. I mean, we have all shapes and sizes who play this game. And I love that. And that's what makes this sport unique. And that's what also makes this sport popular, because it's making it relatable to a lot of people out there who are watching, because these people who are playing are just like the rest of us. I was talking with Philip Lopez this weekend. He plays with Mark Richards, and I like to kind of ask questions about their background and where they came from and if they played any other sports. And Philip, he was just expecting me to ask him about that. So when I asked him, if he played any other sports, he's like, yeah. He's like, Jeff, you know what? I actually just was not very athletic. And I love that. That's okay. That's okay in our sport, right? If you
Yeah.
weren't athletic, it doesn't matter. Philip Lopez, whether he didn't like it or he wasn't athletic, doesn't matter. He found cornhole, he found a passion for it, and he can be one of the best in the world. And I absolutely love that about this sport.
Well, it's been a strange path for you, Jeff, to get to where you're going. I can sit I like I said, I have analyzed a lot of guys when they are doing play by play, because I've been doing radio for so long, and just seeing how natural it comes to you, Jeff, and you have such a pleasant delivery. I think we're going to be seeing you doing a lot more things, and maybe there's things in the works you're not telling us about, but I'm sure ESPN likes what you're doing, because it really adds to the broadcast. Just the laid back and fun, but yet appreciating the athletes that are doing this. What a strange path to go through cornhole, huh?
It is, but you never know. I mean, you never know, what sport, or like I said, with acting, they never know what show or what movie or, what performance is going to propel you. And no, I mean, I don't have anything going on behind the scenes right now, but you never know what it's going to lead to or who's going to listen to you. But I appreciate what you said. And I think something I've always kept in mind is, again, I grew up in Iowa, so I grew up a big Iowa Hawkeye fan. And I always keep in mind, in the back of my mind, I call it my Iowa rule, that that you know it, you really want to try and relate to the fans, and it has to be about the fans, and you want to make it interesting for them. And I've always kind of kept that in the back of my head. If I was doing an Iowa game, what do Iowa fans want to hear when doing this game? And I do the same thing with cornhole. What do I think that the cornhole people out there who are watching want to see and hear from this broadcast? And that allows me to ask sometimes some stupid questions to Trey, sometimes some more technical questions to Trey. But we just, I don't know, we're again, speaking of Trey, I mean, just working with him, we've talked about this before in other podcasts, but just to have a chemistry with your partner is so important. And we just saw, like, on a much larger level, we just saw Joe Buck and Troy Aikman go together to ESPN, because they have great chemistry together, and it's not something that can be faked, and it's not something really that you can kind of work on. It's just something that you just kind of have or you don't have. And fortunately, Trey and I just really kind of clicked from the beginning, our personalities, and that we both kind of challenge each other. And truly, it's been such a great ride.
And I think you're seeing the definition of play-by-play and a broadcast of a game change a little bit. You got Peyton and Eli doing this crazy thing in the NFL where they're sitting there and just talking about the game while it's going on, getting incredible ratings. And I think that the traditional color person, play-by-play person, might be taking a little bit of a evolution, maybe a twist, where people want maybe a little bit more out of that, right?
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, really, my job is to basically just drive the ship, and just try and steer the broadcast. Make sure that all the elements are taken care of, make sure all the commercials are taken care of, and that the sponsor reads get in there, and just kind of keep it organized. And really, I mean, I'm kind of the point guard for Trey. I mean, I'm just trying to assist him and let him take the shots. because he is the expert. And I really kind of like it. Like, I really like it when he dives in. And I do the same thing when I'm broadcasting football or basketball. Like, fans nowadays are so savvy, right? I mean, the people who are watching you, for the most part, you have a lot of people who know the sport and they want to learn something. They want you to dive in deep. So there will be times, again, whether it's football, basketball, or cornhole, like in basketball, just last night in our broadcast with the analyst I was working with, like, he talked about switching up defense, and it's one thing to say, hey, Coastal Carolina has switched their defense. Well, tell me how they switched. Who is doing something differently now? They went from a zone to a box and one. Explain that to me, because some people don't know what that is, and kind of dive in. So I hope that when people are listening to our broadcasts, that Trey and I, and I'm leading Trey into saying something that maybe is teaching even people like you and Al, something new maybe in the game. And Trey's good at doing that.
Yeah. Maybe institute the crap your pants line in there at some point. That'd be nice too.
Yeah,
Al,
sure,
anything you
I'm sure
got
he's
for
still
Jeff
plenty of
before we
that.
let him go?
How's your bracket doing?
Oh my gosh, my bracket was busted on day one. I had Kentucky. So outside of that, it's doing okay, but not great. I don't think I've ever done well in one of these things, ironically enough. And my kids
Yeah.
joke with me, like my son. I don't think my son's ever going to listen to me again, because I talked him out of TCU, and TCU won a couple of games. I talked him out of Baylor. Baylor won a couple of games before I think they lost. And I talked him into Kentucky, because even though I grew up in Iowa, I went to Kansas, and Kentucky came to Kansas about a month and a half ago and just absolutely wiped the floor with the Jayhawks. So I reminded my son of that. So he took Kentucky like I did. So now both of our brackets are destroyed. And I don't think I've ever really done well in this thing. But it sure is fun to watch, man.
You didn't have the Peacocks of St. Peter winning, Jeff? Come on.
I didn't. I really the only upset that I had you know what? I love Georgia State. I had Georgia State in one of my brackets over Gonzaga, only because I had a chance to see Georgia State play during the year. They're a really good team, and their record was terrible because they had 10 guys on their team who missed a total of 85 games because of COVID during the season.
There you go.
And I really thought they were going to get Gonzaga. And damn it, if I wasn't right for about 30 of the 40 minutes of that game, but then Gonzaga ended up winning it. And then I had Memphis beating Gonzaga in another bracket in the second round, and that one didn't work. So, but yeah, I didn't do too well. And then of course I had Iowa going to the Sweet 16, and Iowa lost. So yeah, I didn't do so well. I mean, really, I was traveling on Thursday. By the time I left Charleston, which is where I'm from, I was doing okay. By the time I landed in Philadelphia, I sucked. I was already out of it. It was done.
Could have it fast. All right. Well, Jeff, we really appreciate you taking time to join us. I think we're going to be seeing you doing a lot more. Obviously, the voice, you and Trey, of ACL. So we appreciate you taking time to join us. We wish you the best. Maybe some point down the line, I'll come up behind you and pat you on the shoulder and shake your hand and see you at a tournament that I'll be playing, and we look forward to that. So thanks for taking time to join us, Jeff. We appreciate it very much.
No, you're welcome, and please do, come up and say hi anytime. And thanks for having me on, and make sure you call anytime.
All right, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, we're going to let Jeff go there. Thank you, Jeff McCarragher. He is the voice, along with Trey Ryder, of ESPN's coverage of the ACL, and Al Baghdadi. Before we wrap things up here, we got a big tournament coming in Park Falls, Wisconsin, with a lot of money at it, don't we?
Yeah, June 10th and June 11th, the second annual Restore You Classic Cornhole Tournament. We have, we're welcoming back, Restore You is our title sponsor again. So that adds a little money to the pot, and we're working on getting some board sponsors. The Friday night Switch Holio, Saturday Bring Your Own Partner doubles, which is 100% payback, and those should be $1,000 or more added from our sponsors, and then that will follow that with a singles. And along with that, we have the long shot contest and a few other games going on. We'll have some bag raffles, and just worked out a deal that Wreck-It Boards is gonna send me a set of their boards that they make with the Northern Wisconsin Cornhole logo for us to use on our featured court. And then we're gonna raffle those boards off.
All right. So Wreck-It Boards.
And I just got word today too that Eddie from Eddie's Cornhole Review is going to be joining us and handling the live feeds on our featured court for the weekend.
Awesome. He's got the 2-camera system. It looks really professional. So
Yeah.
plan to come to Park Falls June 10th. There's a hotel right there. Al Baghdadi and I, we provide complimentary shuttles if you've had a couple too many beverages like we did last year to some of our Minnesota friends. So we'll get you back and forth to the hotel, which is actually walking distance away, but we'll give you a ride if you need one. It's a good time. It's at a big ice arena. So I think, do we have it on Scoreholio yet, Al, or will soon?
No, actually I should get that out there.
All right, we'll get it on Scoreholio. It'll be the Restore You. Search for Park Falls, Wisconsin, June 9th and 10th. 10th Saturday will be
10th and 11th.
10th. I'm sorry, 10th and 11th. That's a Friday, Saturday, June 10th and 11th. So I hope to see a lot of you there. All right, Mr. Al Murphy, thank you so much for helping out. Appreciate it. That was fun talking to Jeff, wasn't he? He's a pretty nice guy.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, we like Jeff McCarragher there joining us, and we'll have another edition coming up. We're going to, well, here's what we're planning. I'll tell folks now. We're hoping to get an ACL pro on and an ACO pro on at the same time. We're going to talk about the different paths it takes to become a pro at those two. So we're working on that for next week. And please hit subscribe, comment if you want to try and win that pair of the set of bags and the hat from the good folks at Scoreholio. Until next time, thank you, Al Baghdadi. Joel Karnick here. So long, and we'll talk to you again soon.